Military sexual trauma can affect people of all backgrounds, regardless of their age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. No matter how long it's been since the experience, you can get compassionate care from VA to support your healing. Learn about the many care options designed to help military sexual trauma survivors. To get started, call your local VA facility and ask to speak with your MST coordinator.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis. I'm your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Mark Holmes, Army National Guard veteran, Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, all veteran-owned businesses, Semper Savage, Bottom Gun Coffee, and Caisson Shaving Company. And I've been doing Oscar Mike Radio for almost 7 years, way over 6.5. And, you know, the guest tonight is the third hawker I've had on Oscar Mike Radio. You know, a guy in Massachusetts was my first one. Ulrich Kromer from Germany was the second one. But Adam Semonick has the honor of being the first Marine from 1st Land Battalion, Charlie Battery, 2nd Platoon, to be on, or were you your first platoon, Adam?
I do believe I was in 1st Platoon.
First platoon, okay. Yes. Well, Charlie Battery, anyway, the best battery, Charlie Battery, the battery I was in on Oscar Mike Radio, and we're going to talk about Hawk and then some sim racing that he's doing. Adam, my fellow Marine, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Hey, first off, really enjoy your show. I do get to catch it at times and stuff. Just it's not every day I get to catch all your shows, and I love what you do for the veterans. It's amazing, and I see how much fun you're doing it from like when you first started. Hey man, keep it up. You got something good going on there, and thank you for having me on the show.
Appreciate it. And I like your sporting the OMR gear. That's some awesome stuff. We'll get into, you know, all that later, but that looks good on you, man. It looks good on you. So look, man, I mean, let's just start from the beginning. How did, you know, Adam get into Hawk? Because people still look at you like, you know, what in the hell is Hawk? So what was your experience like?
Well, this is going to be quite a little bit of a not too long of a story.
All
okay.
Right.
So I entered, you know, I wanted to sign up. I was 17. So you're 17, you have to have your parents' signature because you're under 18, right? So I was going to go into the delayed entry program. My mom was having none of it. And then finally the recruiter's like, well, you're not too far off from your 18th birthday. You can just wait till then. She said the heck with it. But unbeknownst to me, you know, I did not know this until she just told me a few years ago. But she tried everything she could to get me to be able to go and get me kicked out before going to boot camp. So, of course, I tried a little bit of marijuana, just like a few hits when I worked at Arby's during my senior year, and she used that. They drug tested me and made me go in open contract. And Marine Combat Training, MCT, I do believe, is when I found out they were not, you know, going off, calling everybody's names, telling them what they were going into. Heard a lot, you know, infantry. And they're like, Semonick, 7222 Hawk Missile Systems operator. I'm thinking, what the, you know, is that? Never even heard of it.
Well, it was a similar thing. It's like, you know, I went in under the Aviation Support 7200 MOS series. I wanted weather or I wanted air traffic control, right? Like everybody wanted. You're going in, you know, into that field. But it wasn't until MCT, they announced it, and nobody knew what it was, and not even the captain over our company knew what Hawk was. The master sergeant did, but the captain didn't, dude.
Yeah, it was amazing. Everybody's like looking, and Steve Van Wyck.
No kidding. Van Wyck, yeah.
Yeah, he was actually at MCT with me, and we're just like looking at each other like, okay, what is this? So that was a funny story because I've got there was two of them, him and then John McPherson, which he did not work in Hawk. He was Motor T, I do believe.
Yeah.
Me and him went through boot camp together. and ended up being stationed in Yuma, in this, out there in the middle. We wasn't on base, we were off base.
Yep, P111, baby.
Yep. So John McPherson, me and him actually went to boot camp together, and then ended up in Yuma together too. It was just, it was weird. It was weird.
Now, what was Hawk School like for you?
Hawk School, yeah, I thought it was easy. I actually did pretty good. Not in high school. The teachers never kept my
No, Hawk School.
Hawk School. Yeah. In Hawk School.
Okay.
Well, I'm just comparing it to then. Back in high school, I had a problem with paying attention and learning. My grades weren't that great, but in Hawk School, I did darn good. And on the visual aircraft recognition test, I got 100%.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. But Hawk School, I thought was pretty easy. We did a lot of PT. I know that the instructor really liked to go on long runs. That was pretty tough. Of course, I had problems with my left knee throughout.
Were you the
time.
class that got into the fight with the Army, or was it the class after you?
I don't recall. Just to be honest, there are some things I recall because of drinking in the past. Some things I don't remember, but I don't recall. I don't know if that ever
you
happened.
remember, because it was pretty significant, and a lot of Bravo Marines were in that fight with the Army, and it sucked for us because, I mean, they locked us down. We were field daying that barracks, twice a week, every week. And that was just the start of the games they played with us, because they wanted to make sure there were certain chow halls we couldn't go to. So you had a good time there. We didn't have a good time there.
Spent a lot of time in the TV room. I don't know.
TVs were awesome, man. The TVs were fire. They were the big old like DLP projection things.
Yeah. Yep. And we'd watch football.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and it was pretty cool, right? You get some dominoes, watch some football. That was the best part about it.
And another thing that I thought was fun about it is because I was there during the time that the Marine Corps ball came up. So like I took, actually my date was a lady that was in the Army, and all the guys were like, whoa, hey, but me and her were just friends, but they didn't know that.
Well, that's all right. Yeah. So you came in like a year before us then, so you weren't in that class for certain, because we started in September, and the class before us got out in like July or June or something. So you were well before all that. I tell people all the time that Marine Corps ball was one of my favorites ever, because it was the officers and the enlisted and all the dignitary guests together. It was pretty cool.
Yes, over there in El Paso. Yes. That was amazing. That was my first ever, of course, Marine Corps ball, and oh my, I mean, staff NCO and above. It's like you're so afraid of them because you're getting out of boot camp and Marine combat training. Now you're going to your school. You're still got that little man. They got them stripes.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. Still kind of hesitant to go up and talk to them, but man, they were just like treated you like any other person on that day. Just you wouldn't even think they were your superior officers or staff NCO and above. That was pretty cool.
That day only, and God help you the next day for PT. Hope you didn't drink too much.
Oh, but, not that night. I hadn't started drinking a lot at that time. So,
well, so we both go from El Paso to Yuma, man. What was your thought when you hit Yuma?
Hot and dry. Not the humidity, just hot. And it's like, really, this early in the morning? And then just some people wouldn't realize, though, being out, of course, being out in the field, we're wearing our camouflage utilities. We're doing all this work and stuff out in the heat. And then during the evening, it cools off pretty much in that desert, and it gets pretty cold. So you just got that fluctuation of temperature, and you had to, time for your body had to get used to it. So it was pretty rough at first, especially on PTs the next morning after drinking.
Well, I always love it when someone says, well, it was a dry heat. I'm like, look, man, 117, 115, 121 plus, 22 plus, it's hot.
Yes.
Okay. Your camis get salt stains in because your body's sweating everything out. It's not sweating, it's evaporating off of you. It was crazy.
And how many people failed their uniform inspection because of those salt stains?
I'm telling you. Well, I'm glad I never did, but I saw plenty of people who did. I'm like, whoa, just throw them in the wash.
Yeah.
So you're a hawker. We're out there playing the desert, and did you like the MOS?
I liked it. I think it's what got me interested in computers as I was getting out of the Marine Corps. Um, the technology of it, I loved it for that time. I mean, it's not, we started with the analog, we had the analog, and of course we ended up going to the laptop digital
Yeah.
ones, I do believe.
Yeah.
So to learn both systems and to be there for both, like the transfer, going from one to the next, that was very interesting. I actually learned more than what I thought and what I let people know, as far as like, hey man, this stuff really interests me. I just was too worried about drinking and partying.
Well, you did like to do that. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on that, but
Yeah.
you did like to have a good time. I think for me, man, there was two things. It was watching the first shoot,
Yes.
which was just absolutely amazing. There was no other job in the military like it. Watching that missile leave the rail, and then when I got my missile license and realized, yeah, you can put these things together, and that's the missile right? I mean, it was just an amazing time. So
You did the loading and unloading with
I got my loader
Yep.
license and I got my missile license. So
I didn't want no part of that.
some people didn't, man. Some people, were high power guys. I mean, that's all they want to do. And, our staff and SEALs are like, hey, we'll keep them on the high power where we know when we roll out to the field, the high power is going to come up. That's how it was. But it could be challenging sometimes, especially in mop gear, in the heat. But it was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. So we both get out, we both, move and do whatever. And, your transition wasn't exactly smooth.
Not really. A lot of it my fault, young and dumb. But we make mistakes. I don't dwell on the past, and that's one of the things I learned going through the sobriety is you can't. It happened. You can't go back and change it. You just got to make sure you don't make those same mistakes again. So I don't dwell. It's kind of I use. Someone asked me, put it in an easy way. It's like the 49ers. They had mentioned it. They always go on to the next game. It's like next game. Who cares about what happened last? It's next game. That's the easiest way to put it. So, yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was all mainly due to myself. I got to take responsibility for that. And that was one of the major things I had to learn to get sober was I had to take responsibility for my actions.
So, I'm not, asking you to address the past, but before we get into the sim racing, let's, if we can, unpack that whole aspect of responsibility, because some people and some of our brethren in the Marine Corps won't take that responsibility.
Well, I'll put it this way. When I blew out my knee, I wasn't in trouble yet. Didn't get in no trouble yet. I blew out my knee and I realized, okay, well, this is over with. It's not, you're not even going to get your foot, because I was set to get out on medical. I totally blew out my ACL completely. They did a complete repair and used some of my patella tendon for my new ACL.
Yeah.
So a little depression there, and I just said to hell with it and just started partying. And didn't realize what consequences would come up, the consequences of my actions, I should say. Wouldn't do it over. I mean, I can't change it.
Right. You can't change it, and you can't do it over again, but you got to a point, right, where enough's enough. And, I kind of, we've been kind of tracking now for you and I for like the last 6-7 years where you're trying to reboot your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yes.
one of the things that I'm like, I'm like pro Adam. I'm a pro Adam fan because it's hard. It's hard on a good day. And you've taken ownership in a way that I'm like, a lot of people won't. I mean, maybe it seems easy to you now and you have the tools to deal with it now, but I can appreciate that it must be difficult. And
Yeah, it took me actually living out of my car in a driveway to be like, no, you don't want to live like this.
so you do this, and then you get back in school. I'm like,
Yes.
all right, he's back in school.
Yeah.
And then, one day you're talking to me and you're saying, hey man, I do this virtual racing. And when I hear virtual racing, I'm thinking it must be like some kind of like Mario Kart thing, or, like NASCAR 2008 or something that he's doing. But it wasn't. It was like this real deal. So for people out there that, and we'll get into everything, down, we're going to dive into this. Educate us first. What does it mean when you say to me, I'm doing sim racing?
Okay, so sim racing, NASCAR drivers, actually, a lot of them, Martin Truex Jr., former driver Dale Jr., uh, the list goes on and on. They used it as a tool to train to learn how to drive on the tracks to get better at their craft of racing in NASCAR. And it's a simulation. So every little change that you make, like adjustments on that game, would make it to where how that car would react and how make it loose, tight, I don't know how to put that in layman's terms for everybody. Loose would be if you're coming out of a corner and you're smacking the wall with your butt end of the vehicle. Tight would be if you're coming out of the corner and you're hitting the front end first. That's tight loose.
Gotcha.
So every adjustment you would make into that sim would transfer onto that how your car would react, in the simulation game. It's actually racing, like I said, a tool used and still used today by NASCAR drivers in all series. They have iRacing, which is the people who made the sim that we use, NASCAR Racing 2003 season, which is still going well today. The modding community, racing community keeps it alive.
That is something. So somebody got the idea that, hey, we can take this, get the license and use it to build like this racing community.
Well, we were allowed to make mods to keep it updated. The thing is, when they released it, you could not modify the EXEs. So the collision detection in that game isn't as great because the vehicles are all boxes. Like it's hard coded in the game. We can't change that. So, but the community modders do the best they can to make it drive like each updated car, like newer cars that NASCAR is running. They've done a tremendous job with the templates, recreating the templates and everything, and making it look exactly like the cars they run today. You can use 3 to 4 different physics in the game to have it how you want to run. We use a couple of them. Like we have a truck series that uses the cup physics, and we also have a truck series that uses the truck physics. So the community keeps it alive, but there are certain things that we cannot modify. But yes, the community as a whole tries to keep NASCAR Racing 2003 season still going. But iRacing is a pay, and you got to have a lot of money and a real good computer to where the sim we use, you can use a computer from the 2000s, early 2000s.
So you don't need a huge footprint to play, but there's still hard rules, car rules, whether it's, camber, drift, all that stuff is, put into your kit before you race, right?
Okay, so we have most of our races at FSB are fixed setups. So everybody's running the same setup.
Okay.
You can't make no changes. You can change the steering ratio, which will make, you can raise it or lower it to help you, to be looser or tighter. You can make some in-game adjustments in your wheel settings for your pedals and your wheels for sensitivity to help you throughout the race. But also we have nights where we have open setups. And at CCR, we run a lot of open setups. It's 2 different leagues I run in. And you can make adjustments. So the camber adjustment in the game is just like a camber adjustment on the car in NASCAR. Wedge, toe in, toe out, tire pressures, rear weight, front weight, brake bias, right rear track bar, left rear track bars, you name it. We make even down to the tape. You can put exactly how much tape you want on it too. So you can make those adjustments, but like Pop's always said, every time before we go race, check your sets, because sometimes people forget to save their changes.
So tell me the difference between FSB Racing and CCR, please.
FSB, it's been a league that's been going for since 2003 season came out. Multiple owners. They've kept it alive and going. FSB runs every night besides Saturday and Sunday night. We have different series that utilize different mods, which would be like truck series, Xfinity series. We have a super speedway series. And on Friday nights, our live broadcasts, which is our Aero 88 series, which are the cars from 1988 season during the Aero Wars. So FSB, I would say we have more drivers show up, especially on our live broadcast races on Friday nights on YouTube. on our YouTube channel. CCR, they have races every night of the week. Less drivers, sometimes more, but they run more open setups, and the rules are also different compared to FSB rules. I mean, a lot of the rules are similar, but a lot of the racers run it both. Run it both. And we're a community. We're not, hey, we're competing against this league. We're all just one community. So
Nice, nice. And so the thing that really kind of drew me in was not only are you have to know how these cars are configured or get your sets right to try to race the best you can, but there's like practice involved. Like if you're going to do this, you got to show up and practice. Like you have a practice after this conversation with me. I mean, and you were telling me like it takes a lot of focus to do this. Can you kind of go into that for me a little bit?
yeah, so each time we go in for a race, we have a practice session. However long it's depends on what time I get in the server, and then qualifying's at 8:30 Eastern, which is 8:30 Eastern, 7:30, yeah, which would be 7:30 my time, correct?
Yep.
That'd be for the first race, and then tonight's actually 9:30 Eastern, so 8:30 Eastern for the second race tonight. But we'll have a practice session, then we'll qualify, and then you have drivers. We'll have a drivers meeting because we're on TeamSpeak and we can talk to each other with our, through the headsets and mics. We'll have a drivers meeting, and we'll go out for a 5-10 minute happy hour session, and then we go to the race. And it's a lot of time put in because you need to know how many laps you're going to get on a full tank of fuel. We do get some. This past Friday was not great for green flag racing. We had a lot of cautions, but that happens. Some tracks, it just happens. Warp, internet issues, or someone's screen freezes or something. It happens. But green flag runs, you got to know how many laps you're going to get on your fuel, a full tank of fuel, whether to take 2 tires or 4 tires. Whether you're going to be faster if you're taking 2 and everyone else is taking 4. Well, guaranteed they're probably going to catch you and pass you because they all took 4 and you just took 2. So there's a lot of strategy involved. So the practice time, and then getting to learn the other driver styles, what line they like to drive. I don't go to practice to try to keep up in speed because you're not going to run a consistent speed at that top speed during practice. You're not going to run that every lap. Not going to happen. Tires wear off. You lose grip. So speed's not my main focus. I go to learn everybody's driving line, and I want to know how my car is going to react or truck on the lower, middle, or upper side of the groove of the track. So that's all the information I like to get, and I'll write that down on a notepad during practice. And then whenever we come back to that track, I can go back to those notes and see if there's any adjustments I need to make.
So it's not just, hey, I'm on a track, I'm going to run the track real fast. I mean, you think out your strategy and pursue that strategy.
Yes. Sometimes that strategy changes. Of course, I'm with Wolfpack Racing, and we get into a channel together, which is just the team members on. So we're working our strategy during the race. Okay, this happened. Now we need to change this strategy. I think this is what we need to do, So it's constantly your strategy.
Tell me about the Wolfpack, because that's something that you've mentioned a whole lot.
Yeah, the Wolfpack, actually, when I first started with FSB, probably about 5-6 months after I started with them, I got an offer to join Team Wolfpack. There are teams at FSB, and you have to be invited by that team. I got an invite and joined them. And when I didn't realize this at first, but every single one of us is a veteran.
That's cool.
That served in the Coast Guard, another one that was in the Marine Corps, and and another in the Navy. So our teammates, we had a couple more new teammates I haven't really got to know, but we're all veterans, military veterans.
How cool is that? That there's something, you hear like video games suck and you shouldn't play video games, but it's kind of cool in our generation that, you can take a video game like this. It's not a video game. I mean, I'm not using that term like that, but you can take something like this and really use as a way to connect with other people like you. I mean, what's that like when you roll heavy with the Wolfpack?
Oh, well, sometimes on that track, if they got a better car than you, they're not going to help. They're going for that win. Hey, you can throw, hey, we'll strategize and help each other out with setups and stuff. But when it comes down to, hey, I'm going for that win, teammates thrown out the window. That's the first thing, one thing. But no, man, getting there with the guys, and then I don't know, man. it's hard to explain. A lot of motivation. They've been through, me going back to school and getting away from drinking and everything, and they've really backed me up on that. But being able to be and doing something together with veterans, man, I'm going to be honest. I have more veteran friends than I do people that's never served in the military. I can't explain that. It's just something that I get along easier with people that serve in the military.
No, I understand. I understand. In some ways, that's true for me. I mean, you don't have to explain yourself on certain things, and you're not looked at funny when you do certain things that are just bred into us. It's just there's no other way around it. But I just think it's cool that there's golf, there's this, there's that, there's pottery, yoga, whatever, and that a bunch of people get together and do this sim racing like this. I guess one thing I'm curious about, because I've kind of gotten into F1 over the last couple of years, is, well, okay, my thing with F1 is, where I give them the props over NASCAR, is they race in the rain.
Yes.
But I have to also admit that I'm like, I'm watching this documentary about Kyle Busch, right?
Just cut you off on that. NASCAR does race in the rain on road courses, and they're looking to do that on short tracks and testing that out.
Well, F1's, maybe 50 to 70 laps. Now, there's some NASCAR races that are like 400 laps.
Oh,
so you're taking on fuel, different tires, but it's got to be a load on your body and mind to focus like that, because those cars are going 180, 200 miles an hour, and they're inches from each other. So
see, we're on that. When we run, we lower our percentage. So I think on Friday nights, we do 40% of the laps of what they would actually do in real life. So we're only doing 40% of the laps. A lot of ours are 35% or less. But yeah, I don't think anybody would make it bathroom wise in 100% online racing in our league.
Well, 40% still like, 160 laps, man.
Yes,
it's still, more than what an F1 driver would do. So my question is do you get a real appreciation for what these drivers can do in these cars and the teams behind them?
Oh, definitely. Just a little time that I'm behind the wheel on our races and practice. I use a wrist brace. I have gloves because my hands get sweaty. I'm tired. I'm sore depending on where we're running. If it's a super speedway, it's not as much on the arms and everything, but short tracks, road courses, working the throttle, brake, shifter, and everything. I mean, there's a shifter. I have the wheel, pedals, and shifter, just like you would be in a real car. So, made my recliner nice and comfortable where I can put it up and by my I would call my kitchen table that my steering wheel's attached to with my pedals underneath, and I have it hooked up to my TV. So it's a nice little race setup, and I'm nice and comfortable. But yeah, I do have appreciation, because trying to sit for that long, whew, I have to give
cars
it to those
get
guys.
hot too, man.
Yes,
they get hot.
Yeah, they're wearing that full suit with fire retardant gear.
Yeah. I mean, it's no joke. It's no joke. I'm like, it's different. I mean, it's easy to sit there, because some of my, foreign friends and some colleagues like, well, F1 is the real racing. But I'm like, yeah, well, okay, I'll give you certain aspects are, but you're not sitting in that car for 4 to 6 hours either.
No,
2 hours, and these guys are done going home. I'm not saying they don't put out any effort, but it was just a very unique American thing. So you got the Wolf Pack, you've got the 2 leagues you're in. You're going to school, you're managing all this. I mean, is the racing kind of like a release for you, a place where you can just say, you know what, I'm going to forget about classes and all this, and I can just race?
yes,
for the sheer pleasure of racing.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, sim racing, you have accidents. The good thing about it, sim racing, is we're not paying millions of dollars for these vehicles. So you get in a crash, you wreck a sim car. Oh well. People might get in the heat of battle. Might be a little angry, but we have rules set where you can't. Don't be blurting it out, or you won't be racing for about a week or 2, or maybe longer. Because if the owner of the league hears you going off on someone over the team speak, you're not going to be racing for a while.
So there's an actual owner for the league?
Yes, we have a person that owns the league, and various numerous other people that help, with running each series, helping each night, getting the races going, holding the drivers' meetings, doing points, keeping the web page up.
So this is, everybody talks about Fortnite and COD, but this is its own little culture of people doing this to get good at this.
Yep. And some drivers do iRacing too, which I can't afford. I'm
Now,
not going to.
what's iRacing?
It's the same people that made the game that we utilize, the developers of the game, the ones who created the game. It's you got to pay. You got to pay for a monthly subscription. You get so many tracks, and then you got to, based on your safety ratings and other ratings and stuff, you move up to different classes where you can drive different types of vehicles.
How much is that?
I think I can't remember what the lowest package was, but then you can buy additional cars and you can buy additional tracks. And this game, I get them. I don't have to pay for all that. You help me being my sponsor. You help with the entry. We pay for each season. We pay, and that helps get like trophies or like bumper stickers or shirts or hats, for the winner of the series. It pays for our server and stuff like that. So, because the owner does pay someone else that has a server that we run on that's specifically made for that game.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's not as much. It's nowhere near as much what iRacing costs. So,
well, I mean, it's just interesting how this is all growing. I remember, in Yuma, guys would have the NASCAR game with split screen on their PlayStations, or I don't think it was for the N64, but I mean, you'd pit and do all this other stuff. How big, when you say fuel, how many laps can you get on a fuel tank?
Depends on where we're running and what percentage of we're running.
Yeah.
I've had tracks where you'll get 13 laps, bigger tracks, super speedways. Other tracks where you can get anywhere from 60 to 80 laps, but good luck making your tires last that long. You're going to be pitting for tires before you do fuel.
But you get fuel and tires at the same time, right?
Not all the time. It just depends on where you're at. Everybody uses a strategy at Daytona. First pit stop, you'll come in. Some people alternate it. It's either left or right. You'll take either lefts or two rights and tank and a half of fuel. You'll get out a little bit quicker if someone else takes 4 tires. But then on your next stop, you alternate. Sometimes people take 4. Sometimes people take none. So Daytona, Talladega, you can get away with only taking 2 tires and none. You get at a track last night at Dover. After about 30 laps, I was ready to go in and get tires because I was about ready to spin it out. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it just varies on tracks. You can't abuse a lot of people like to abuse the tires up front, but a lot of the races we're all starting in the back, and you'll see me finish up. We're nowhere near where I started is because I'm saving my tires and I'm not really running it that hard. Did that this past Friday. I actually got collected, had nowhere to go on the track during a wreck, cars everywhere. Took some major right front damage. They shut the engine off, working on it for about almost 50 seconds. So the pace car was coming around. If they wouldn't have got me out before that pace car hit that start finish line, I would have got caught a lap back. But they got me out. I stuck with it the whole rest of the race. Was thinking about retiring. Just kept coming in during yellow flags. We had a bunch of yellows, cautions. A couple of them saved me from going a lap down, and ended up getting, I do believe, a 12th place finish out of it.
Nice.
So I just hung around. I was going to retire. I was like, no, I don't. I need a finish tonight. So I just hung around. And I mean, we had a nice car. Good, man. The setup was good that they used. Darn good setup. Made a few tweaks to my steering settings, wheel settings, and thought we had a chance at it. But just when you got cars everywhere, in a wreck, or you have nowhere to go, there's nothing you can do sometimes. So that's sim racing.
Right.
I mean, that's sim racing.
So how many people are in like the FSB League with you?
There's a lot. But we on Friday nights generally get anywhere between 20 to 25 drivers on Friday nights for our broadcast. It's lower during the week. I've seen it down as like 12, 13 people, but hey, life happens. It's not always, oh, I got to stop. I can't go to work because I got to race, or I got to miss this volleyball game because I got to race. Life happens. People get busy. Sometimes our card count's lower.
So, you're doing this, and then you approach me about being a sponsor. And at
Yes.
first, I'm like, I've never sim racing. I'm like, what's this all about? And I check it out. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but how cool is it? Because in podcasting, other things in life, I'm like, you can follow the crowd and do all the other stuff that the crowd does, like get your own coffee. Like everybody in podcasting has their own coffee brand. They'll sell you a pound of their coffee, a lot of them. I'm like, well, everybody knows it's not your coffee. It's not like you roasting it. But I'm like, how many people actually have their stuff on the side of a NASCAR like car? I was in. I
Yeah.
was in.
I really appreciated that. And I'm gonna tell you, the logo you sent and the painter, that I think he did an amazing job, especially on the red, white, and blue car that I've been running on Friday nights. I
Well,
love that one.
all right, we're gonna so hang on a second. Let me share my screen. That, ladies and gentlemen,
That one's nice. Yes.
that gets attention.
And I will be running that one this Friday night, actually. I'll be running that one. We're at I do believe a short track, Nazareth, I think. But that's the paint scheme I will be running.
I mean,
But
this is a couple years old, right?
yes, that one was one of the first ones made.
So I just like the missile on. I was thinking about putting the missile in there. I'm a big Mustang fan. There's the kind of rebadge logo, and then Oscar Mike Radio in the back. I like the fact that we were able to get 1.6 on your newer cars, because to me 1.6 is when Oscar Mike Radio was started in 2016. But I have this on, and people are like, "What is this? Are you on a NASCAR race?" And I'm like, "No, I'm doing this virtual sim stuff," and I just think that's cool. And I think it's if you're a podcaster looking at something different, it's a different way to get out there. And I got to tell you also, man, just marine to marine, it is really cool to hear the announcer announce you in the Oscar Mike Radio car. That's just like, I feel like I'm a big like a big huge like Red Bull, or
Yeah, I was talking to Sean about that, and I actually told him, me and him message each other. I bug him a lot, but I told him thank you for that, and I'm like, man, I can imagine. I'm like thinking, and then I'm like, Sean, you're actually saying Oscar Mike Radio more than you are my name as the driver. No, just joking around, but I love that he's getting it out. It's amazing to hear that. That actually, because I rewatch the broadcast after every Friday night race, and I love it. I love that he's giving that shout out to you, and it's just, man, it's amazing. And that the shield on the front of that red, white, and blue card.
Yeah, we'll have that. We'll put that in the show here. We'll get that in the show. But that red, white, and blue car pops. Yes. I mean, it is fire.
And it also says veterans in action on the deck lid. I don't know if you ever get a good shot of that. So it does say veterans in action on there. I can't remember if it has the missile or not. I'm
not sure, but it might have the new logo on it, but it's just fire. The car is fire. The truck you run is fire. I mean, it's just all good. And I've watched you, in your, battle for sobriety, right? And I'm like, here's a guy who's trying to do something. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know anything about this, but I will gladly support what you're doing, Adam, if that means that you can take this and run with it, man. You have, in a really cool way. And this is where I think the whole marine connection comes down to it, man. It's just really cool to see you doing this.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on board as a sponsor. Really do. One thing, it keeps me. I had to keep my mind busy in order to get away from that drinking. I had to keep my mind busy with other things. So school was one. Well, I was breezing through my schoolwork, and I found more. I'm like, I'm gonna check. I seen a video about sim racing, and I was like, man, I used to do that back in the day. I'm gonna go check up on it, and that's how I found videos of FSB, and that was one of the. Okay, I'm like, I needed something to keep me out of the bars, and with school and that, of course, my children. my children is the number one thing.
Oh yeah, man.
I do want to put that out there.
You got
my
3 kids, right?
3 daughters. I
I got 3 sons. How about that?
Waited till I was 31 to have my first. But so yours are probably a little bit older.
Tad bit.
So mine's 15, 12, and 6.
22, 21, and 17.
Looks like you're doing an amazing job with them, though, man. I'm gonna tell you that.
Well, I appreciate that, man, and likewise. I mean, your daughters come over and see you, and they understand how this works, and it's all good. It makes everything worth it.
Yeah.
But the school, man. I mean, you're breezing through school now. What are you hoping to do with your degree once you get out of school?
Well, I thought about a few things. At first, it was for like computer programming, getting maybe working, doing security, the security side of things with the computers, internet networks and stuff. But after sitting down thinking, Illinois got a shortage of computer science teachers at the high school level. Discussed it with my daughters, and I have quite a bit of time before they are all out of school. So I'm not leaving Illinois anytime soon. So I think I'm going to go ahead and once I get my degrees, look into teaching at the high school level.
Oh man, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I think. Well, I try telling parents that I'm like, hey, college is good and college is great, but if you can get your child into computer security track, if you can, college is great, go to college, but there are jobs in the technology field that will mean you have a good career and steady work. And I think too there's a need for people to teach those kinds of skills, man. That's some awesome stuff.
Yes, basically what I've been reading and researching, Illinois is wanting to get computer science taught at the high school level more, and they're needing teachers. So that time frame is going to line up pretty good, from the time I get my degree. So I think that's where I'm headed. That's the direction we're heading, and as go ahead and teaching.
So go back to the Marine Corps for a second. I mean, I'm just curious. I always like to ask other Marines. I mean, what did the Marine Corps give you that's working for you now? I mean, there's a lot of stuff they give us that doesn't work. I mean, but there's a couple of things I've held on to pretty tightly. I'm just curious if there's anything you'd like to share.
Oh, holding a schedule, like doing a certain time. If I have something, okay, most of the time, I will say 99.9% of the time, I eat at the same time of the day. I take a shower at the same time of the day. I wake up and I have the same route. It's the same routine. I would say routine. Respect would be probably the number one thing. Respect.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that to you, but respect, it taught me a lot of respect, because I see a lot of people nowadays, there's a lot of no respect, a lot of no respect going on.
Sure.
So,
well, I mean, I would say
teamwork. Sorry,
yeah.
Teamwork also.
Yeah. For me, it's this really weird thing. When I put my mind to something and truly push all in and commit to it, I don't have to worry about it. It's done. The other side of that is, well, I didn't get it done, then I only got myself to blame, and I'm like, you loser. But I think it gave me that more than anything else. But we're talking here, and I think about it. I met you in 1996.
It was either 90. So 94 is when May of 94, I do believe, is when I went to boot camp.
May 95 for me.
Okay. So then I had combat training and Hawk school to go to after that. So, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly. I do have my papers. It should say when I was in Arizona. Maybe.
You probably went to Arizona in January of 95, right before I joined.
I know. I remember there was a holiday.
Yeah, it's Christmas and New Year's, because I went home for Christmas and spent New Year's in Yuma.
Because I didn't get to go home for the holidays. I actually went straight from Hawk school with me and Stephen Van Wyck got a ride from one of the staff sergeants. He wore glasses. I can't remember his name but he
I know who
actually
you're
drove
talking
us.
about.
Yep, he drove us. He drove us to Yuma from El Paso.
What?
Yes, he drove us from El Paso to Yuma. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a long trip.
Yeah, man. That's like because I rode my motorcycle from Yuma to El Paso. That was like 700 miles, man. That was no joke.
Yeah, it was a long drive.
You guys didn't fly there?
No, we
Wow.
drove. He had to drive for some reason. He was going back there for some reason to teach or do something for a few weeks or a month or something. So we got to ride along with him, and it saved them on a plane ticket.
Well, I mean, I know who you're talking about, and there was Staff Sergeant Ruiz. He passed away.
Oh,
Yeah, he had a heart attack during the run. Running's bad for you, dude. I mean, just is. But and then there was another one with glasses. Staff Sergeant Parks also had glasses.
Staff Sergeant Parks. I do believe that's who it was. I do believe.
Kind of crazy, kind of.
Yes. Yeah. I do believe that's who that was. If okay, now I know this. I'm trying to remember because he had like his head was completely shaved. Like he had, you could grow some hair after boot camp. Boot camp, you're not growing that hair.
Yeah, he had the crew and the cut. I mean, you could run a fine line over it. I mean, I don't know how he kept it that short, but yeah.
But it was short. So yeah, he was I always thought he was kind of goofy.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
He's the one that drove us.
Kind of out there, boy. That must have been an interesting ride.
It actually was better than what I thought. He didn't act nowhere near the way he acted during school. And he's like, that was all we have. There's reasons behind the way we act.
I mean, all kinds of little games they played with you.
Yeah. And that didn't stop in the fleet. We still played some games up in there.
Right,
I remember taking everything out of the barracks down,
man.
downstairs outside, and then have to clean the whole barracks and take everything back up.
Gunny now First Sergeant Botwell. Is that he'd get a wild hair and hey, we're gonna do a Chinese field day. Want to have some fun? What's that? Oh, I shouldn't have asked.
And this never ceases to amaze me on those field days. Somehow I always got stuck in the beginning with either doing the waxing or the stripping. Probably one of the worst jobs to try and do because everybody's wanting to go to the laundry room, go to the bathroom, and tracking all over that stuff.
Well, you gotta wait, right? You gotta wait till everybody, almost until like 11 o'clock at night to do it right. Because if you don't, you're right. Some guy's gonna sit there and go to the wash machine or get a shower, and your puff job's all messed up. You got to wait till you're like the last one in bed, and then if you're really motivated, you get up in the morning and make sure it's buffed again before the first sergeant shows up. Yeah, man, it was just
yep. And remember, there was a couple times we lost some Fridays and Saturdays because of failed field days, and we spent Friday and Saturdays cleaning. Those were the games.
yeah and usually it was either failed, and it was always the same. It was the same 5 to 6 guys who just didn't care. I don't care. I'm going to drink during field day anyway. I don't care. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. I did my fair share of drinking. One of the guys we had from Tennessee had some good stuff sent from home. So
good times. Yeah, man. I mean, and not to wax poetic too much, but those are some hard times for certain. But those are some good times. Life was good back then.
Oh yeah, it man, the camaraderie, the brotherhood. I feel like everyone that I had served with, I still talk to a lot of them to this day. It's like they're brothers for life, brothers and sisters. We had females in with us. They didn't live in the barracks with us, but
you had Fouch and Rossick, and you had Fouch for certain. I think Rossick was in our platoon.
We had I forgot how to say what her name, how it was pronounced, but she had like a Native American in her heritage. She was Native American. I forgot what her name. She was
Joe.
Yes, Joe. Yep. Yes. And I'm gonna tell you, one time I said something like just being sarcastic to her, and she gave me a swift kick. And you know what? And I never did give her a hard time after that again. She was tough.
Yeah, I had different memories of Joe, and not good ones. That's a different story for a different time. But yeah, there was I think we had Rivera, we had Fouch, we had Rossick, and we had Joe.
Yes, and then there was they're on my Facebook.
H&S battery, the motor T supply.
Vernatter.
Yeah, Vernatter was in Bravo. Palatino was in Bravo. Lieutenant Coe was in Bravo.
But weren't they in Charlie? And there was certain reasons. A couple didn't.
I don't know. That was before my time. I know when I got there, Palatino, well, it was Corporal Coffee at the time, and Vernatter and a couple others were in Bravo, one or two in Alpha. It was really funny. I never really got to know or hang out with a lot of people in Alpha Battery, ever. Bravo Battery all the time. Alpha we never really got to interact with them ever, really. Attachment battalion runs, they got us out there. That's the only time.
Yeah, good old battalion runs. And how about like our battery decided to go out and do, like go on the humps, get some new officers in. They like doing that. Of course, I missed quite a bit of those because that was after my knee surgery, so I got to drive the safety truck.
You didn't miss much. You didn't miss much, man. I mean, it was either, noontime, July, let's go run around P111. Or, hey, you know what? I'm the new butter bar boot. Let's go for a hump, Marines. Yeah, that's a good idea, sir.
It's one good thing about the surgery, the ACL replacement. I got to miss a lot of that.
Man, you got the freaking platinum plated solid gold duty chit out of that one. Don't kid yourself.
Yep. That was
amazing. What are they going to do?
Well, I tried to, they had me trying to do the physical fitness tests, and I failed it miserably. Like, they were like, all right, the knee might be good to go. They didn't even have me in a brace. Like, they were still, were setting up to get me fitted for that brace to fit it to my knee. And they tried to have me do this PT test. I guess they wanted to see how I was doing, and I failed it miserably. I couldn't run. Like, I just could not run.
No, I've had an ACL injury, and it's about a year to heal. You should have had a brace because you're not stable, and running's just not the same after that unless you're just blessed.
Not at all. I know that the doctor told me, the surgeon had it at Davis Monthan Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
And one of the Marines drove me in because he had a pickup truck with the topper, and I had to lay down on the way back. I couldn't sit in front. So another fellow Marine that stayed at the barracks drove me there and back. But I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, the doctor told me that I had completely torn it from the bottom bone, and it was hanging by like a thread of an eyelash on the top bone. So it was a complete replacement. Yeah. To this day, I still have issues, but hey,
man, it's just it's not the years, it's the miles, as they say.
Yeah. Now running nowadays, there's no running for me. Can't do it.
Oh, no. So wind this down. We've blown through this time. What's your goal for sim racing in 2023?
The goal is hopefully to build our community up, bring more drivers in. If that would be an amazing thing. I mean, the friendships that get created through sim racing, it can help people get things off their minds. As far as like sim racing is just basically the thing to help me stay away from things, but I have other things too. So my life will be before that. So I have other goals before I have sim racing goals.
Nice.
And that's just keep taking it one day at a time. If I make a mistake on something, don't dwell on it.
Sure.
Sim racing is to hopefully start driving better now. I got pedals. I was driving with using the fingers for the gas and brake, and that's not easy. Getting better finishes now with pedals. Bring the Oscar Mike vehicle, car, truck, whatever mod we're running, bring that to the front. Had my best FSB finish, I do believe, last week. Second place. I got was pushing Sean to the lead the other night last week. Coming to the checkered flag, thinking I was gonna be in competition. I'm sitting there behind him, giving him that push and just racing, pack racing. A couple of us got together and we all wrecked at the end. I turned it around, finished backwards, but still got a top 5.
There you go.
So get that truck up there, that Oscar Mike, logo on that screen a little bit more than what I have been.
How can people find out more about FSB or join in?
Okay, we do have our YouTube page for our Friday night broadcast, which I have sent those links. I can send those to you again. We also have a Facebook page and a website.
All right, send me those links. So they'll be in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. Well, hey man, it's just of all the things that when I
want to throw something in there also with
yeah.
the game. No need to purchase the game because the game was given out by the people who created Papyrus, as long as no one modified the EXE. So we do have everything you would need if they were to want to join the racing league. They'd want to get, of course, a wheel and pedals, but and a decent computer. You can get one for about $200-300. That will run the game perfectly fine.
Well, there you go, folks. If you want to, check this out for yourself and join in, there's a pathway there. Adam, I'm going to close off with saying, it's just really been great. When I started Oscar Mike Radio, I had no idea that, I didn't know what sim racing was or have any idea I'd be supporting it. But I think it just goes to show that, hey, yeah, it's been, 20 years and we're still talking and we're still enjoying each other's successes and understanding that, there's still work to be done. So, hey, man, all the best. I support you enthusiastically. And here's to a strong finish in 2023 and beyond.
Yeah, man. And like I said, your show, I love it. I get to catch some shows. I have to go back. I don't get to catch all the live ones or when you first put it out, whatnot. But I do go back and rewatch those. And what you do, the guests you have on, you touch a lot of people. Just keep doing what you're doing, Matt. It's really amazing what you're doing. You might not know that could actually make that person's day. So. Or someone just watching you. So,
well, I really appreciate it, man. It's just, it's all about the number one for me and just making, one show, one life at a time. So we're going to keep going, like you said, and you're going to keep going. And we can certainly say Adam is Oscar Mike. And so that's
definitely. Thank you for the gear too, by the way.
Hey man, no problem. If you're one of mine, you're one of mine. So look, I'm going to have all the links to the FSB Racing and the Oscar Mike Radio show post. We'll get some of the other cars in the video. You can watch them, see them. And, Friday night, if you're not doing anything, check out the FSB Racing. It's pretty exciting. And Adam, thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Well, as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission flight. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Join us on National Wreaths Across America Day, December 16th, 2023. Each December on National Wreaths Across America Day, our mission to remember, honor, and teach is carried out by coordinating wreath-laying ceremonies at Arlington National Cemetery, as well as more than 3,700 additional locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. Join us by sponsoring a veteran's wreath at a cemetery near you, volunteering, or donating to a local sponsor group.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 998 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.